You're good.
Good morning. Welcome to Grand Rounds, August the 24th, 3 days after the eclipse. Hopefully everybody still has their eyesight. Today we have two speakers, Ms. Mary Catherine Santoro and Dr. Natalia Jaimez. Ms. Santoro is an outreach and instructional librarian here at Carilion, has a master's degree in library services from the University of Maryland, and has worked for many years prior to coming to Carilion in the Virginia Museum of Natural History and the Library Services for the Blind and Physically Disabled, which is a branch of the Library of Congress. Okay, that's one. Dr. Natalia Jaimez is an outpatient pediatrician here at Carilion Clinic at the Jefferson Plaza location, which serves as the main teaching clinic for the Department of Pediatrics. She comes from Columbia, hence music today. We're trying to make her feel at home, but apparently it's Christmas music, not August music. She did her medical training at Universidad Javeriana in Bogota. Okay, that's about as much Spanish as I know. She did her pediatric residency at Mount Sinai University School of Medicine in New York. She also holds a master's degree in clinical epidemiology from the Netherlands School of Health Sciences and has worked for many years in outpatient practice in North Carolina prior to joining Carilion in 2014. Please welcome Dr. Jaimez and Ms. Santoro.
Good morning, everybody. We're excited to be here. We hope this is useful for you guys. We're going to review searching and finding literature. To put this in context, I just want to, first of all, we have non-disclosures. I want to discuss our objectives with you. We want to practice, again, this is very important, it comes in every board, express a clinical question in a scientific way. For that, we use a PICO format, and we're going to talk especially about the TT table that comes with it. We're going to try to help you develop a research strategy. We're going to talk about assessing the research results and refine the search strategies depending on the results. And we're going to identify few of the many Carilion-based, evidence-based sources that we have. Three of the ones I think are the most useful for us and more efficient, since we are so busy and we don't really have much more time to spend too much time on searching. Okay. To put this in a context, to practice evidence-based medicine, we need to first be able to ask and develop answerable clinical questions, and for that we practice our PICO TT. We are supposed to acquire or be able to efficiently find the best evidence, and this is where we focus. This is our focus in this talk, okay? That part, because I think it's hard in journal club. We always have a little bit of difficulty in this part, and I thought it would be useful for the residents that the attending study was useful for them too. And then the third part is a pricing, which is clinically evaluating the evidence and critically evaluating the evidence for its validity and usefulness. And that's what we do in journal club every one Friday every month. We just detail and study the evidence. And then you apply the evidence you find depending on its applicability, and you assess how you did on finding this evidence. So based on these 5 steps of providing evidence-based care, we're going to focus today on the second one, how to find what you need, okay? So going back to our PICO TT model, you have to define first the P, which is your patient population, your problem, the closest you can to actually define that population you want to target. You need to identify what is the intervention, the prognostic factor, the exposure, whatever you are trying to study. If there is a comparison, identify that comparison. And define your outcomes. What is what you want to achieve? What are you looking for? And then that will give you what type of question is this. knowing what type of question is the type of question you're asking yourself, then it will be easier to find what type of study you need. And then it comes to the sticky table, which is right here, when you have your study with your type of study design you need to find. Ideally, or in theory, if you have a treatment question, you want to find a systematic review of meta-analysis of double-blind randomized controlled trials. If you don't find a systematic review of meta-analysis, then you find a good randomized controlled trial. If you have a diagnostic question and you're interested in finding the best way of diagnosing something, then again, you need to find a systematic review or of controlled trials or controlled trials. If you are talking about a prognostic question, then you want to do a systematic review of core studies or core studies, or a case control study or case series. If your question is about harm and etiology, then you need to find core studies, so systematic reviews if there is any of core studies. If the question is prevention, you need systematic review of randomized controlled trials or randomized controlled trials or core studies. And if it's quality improvement, systematic review of randomized controlled trials or randomized controlled trials, or in general. Every study will have good and bad things, and sometimes it's better to find a good study than an ideal study. So sometimes the ideal studies, like, let's say a systematic review wasn't well done, then it's not so useful. A very good randomized controlled trial probably can beat a systematic review that wasn't well done. So that's another subject that we'll be targeting when we do journal club. Any questions here? So here is the levels of evidence requirement. A lot of people know this, but this is some of those things that you have to, understand to be able to find the best evidence. So we consider systematic reviews on the very top, then randomized controlled trials, then core studies. Prospective studies usually have better evidence than retrospective studies. Then case control studies, and then case series and case reports, and then editorials and experts' opinions will be when there is no study. Now this is where Catherine is coming to help.
Brief pause while we move the microphone. Good morning. So as you're starting your search, one of the things you want to think about is why am I doing this particular search? And we will operate under the assumption that it's not, I was really bored and I thought I'd hang out on PubMed for a while. So are you doing your literature review because you're doing a research project and you're looking to see what's been done, or you're looking to see where are the gaps in the literature that indicate this is a study that needs to be done? Are you trying to answer a clinical question because you're making a decision about treatment for a patient, or you're advising about prognosis or the side effects of medications? Or is this just a question of sort of an ongoing keeping up of your knowledge? You've heard reference to an article you want to read. There's a topic that's become of great relevance and interest, and there's new information in your field, and you want to find more on that, or there's an author who's getting a lot of buzz. All of those will have an impact on how you go about searching. So it comes down to things like, do I need to be comprehensive, or am I looking for one good article that answers this question? Once you know why you're searching, you can go ahead and get started. To get started, please choose peer-reviewed and subscription resources whenever possible, as opposed to just going to Google and slinging it in and seeing what you come up with. Carilion pays for subscriptions to dozens of resources for you to use, and we would encourage you to do so. If you are even going to use something like Google Scholar or PubMed, both of which are fine resources, but you can go directly to them, we recommend that you take the extra step to access them either through inside Carilion. The library is the first choice on the Research tab across the top, or that you go through your MyAthens account. If this is the first you are hearing of a MyAthens account, that is your access to all of our electronic resources when you are not at a Carilion computer. If you need help getting one set up and you're here, you're welcome to talk to me afterwards. If you're remoting in, email library@carillionclinic.org, and we can help you get that taken care of. You'll also find all the instructions inside Carilion to walk you through that. And the reason that we tell you that you should take the extra step to go through Carilion is that that is what is going to cause the full text in Carillion's paid resources to turn up for you in PubMed. So it saves you the extra step of having to go track down the full text when it's available. To get your search strategy going, you want to break down your research questions into component terms. And the lovely thing about this is that the component terms are more or less going to match your PICO. So if you've already got that, then you've got your broken down component terms. You do want to consider synonyms for your concepts. So things like, if you're looking for children, do you also need to look for adolescents? If you're looking for something that we tend to refer to with an acronym, do you also need to search for it spelled out, even if that means looking up spelling of complicated, Latin-y words? You want to take advantage of any resource-specific features. And by that I mean filters, and filters is like applying either a range of years. I'm only interested in the last 5 or last 10 years. It can be applying a language. The only language that I read well enough to read a technical article is English. It could be something like going in and using filters that are established by the databases where they've said these are all articles about a specific geographical region. So you can use those. They vary from resource to resource. We're going to get to a live demo in a few minutes, and I'll show you some of those then. You also want to take advantage of keywords. In PubMed, they call them mesh terms, which is medical subject headings. That is the language that the resource you are using uses to talk about your concept. So knowing how they have defined what you are searching can be very helpful for finding articles, especially if you've got something where there's not a single agreed upon name. And the example that I had recently was someone asked for information on unplanned extubation, and it turned out that we had to use extubation, traumatic. That was the way that that database had categorized that. So we found much more complete results taking advantage of its language. When you do your initial search, there are some red flags that you need to reevaluate your search strategy. If you get absolutely no hits, or if you get far fewer hits than you were expecting, check and see if something has gone wrong. Check and make sure that you've spelled things correctly. It turns out that if you leave the U out of traumatic in traumatic brain injury, when you're searching a resource called HERO, you will still find the 4 other people who can't spell traumatic. You will miss the thousands of articles where traumatic is spelled correctly. So if you're looking for something and you know there should be thousands of articles and it comes back and says, we found 4, check your spelling. Check to see that you don't have filters on from a previous search, that you haven't asked it to find you articles about pregnancy while your filters are over 80 and male. Okay? If you get too many hits, the reverse of that, if you put in your search and you get 3,024,395 results, you need to narrow your search. You're not going to go through 3 million results. I'm not going to go through 3 million results. No one has time for that. That is literally, I think, a search for healthcare, and just to get the highest number I could for the purpose of this slide. Okay. So if you get 16,000 results when you search traumatic brain injury, it's time to stop and think about, okay, what specifically am I looking for? Who's my patient population? Why am I looking at this? Am I looking for a treatment? Am I looking for guidelines? Put more information in. If you get a lot of articles that appear to be off topic, then you want to reassess your search and figure out, is there a word here that means more than one thing? What's pulling these results sideways? And the goal of all of this is to eliminate the noise of articles you don't want and focus on the ones that you do. Because your time is valuable, and we don't want you to spend it scrolling through 700 abstracts looking for one article. So some places to look, and we are going to show you all of these live in a moment, but I want to introduce them first. HERO, if you have not heard of this, is a Carilion-specific tool. It's a broad search of just about all of our electronic resources. There are 1 or 2 that won't cooperate, but for the most part, you are searching all of Carilion's electronic resources. If you are starting on a topic you've never done before and you don't know what databases will be the most useful, this can be a good way to find them. If you have trying to find a single article that you've heard about on the news or something and you want to see, hey, do we have access to that full text without checking database by database, this is a good way to do that. What you lose in HERO are those custom features I was talking about earlier. Because it's searching multiple databases, you're limited to the kind of things that would be available in all of them. So you can still limit by year of publication, you can still limit by only show me scholarly articles, but you're going to lose keywords because they're not the same from database to database. TRIP is an evidence-based search engine. It has a strong international component because it is a British product, which makes it a great place if you want to do something like compare guidelines from around the world, if you're looking for information on a practice or procedure that's been common in Europe for 10 years but has only just been approved or is being considered for approval over here. It ranks the results by evidence level. So the pyramid we saw earlier, it shows you where on that it falls. It is one of our oddball resources in that it does not get along with MyAthens. So to use all of the paid features of TRIP, you will need to sign up for a free account from a Carilion computer, and you'll see a box at that time that says your pro account provided by Carilion Clinic Health Sciences Libraries. As long as you see that, you are good to go, and then when you log into your personal account from home, it will tie that to Carilion. PubMed, which I hope everyone has heard of before. PubMed is a thorough, well-indexed resource which makes high specificity and high control of your search possible. Again, you want to go through the Carilion library links to get the best access to full text, but this is a fabulous resource. And there are some ways to make it more effective. I'm going to mention a couple of them, and then there are also links at the end of this presentation to some handouts on that, or if you're in the room, they're printed at the back of the room and available for you to take with you if you'd like. So we've reached our sample clinical question. And our sample clinical question this morning is a 2-dose HPV vaccine schedule as effective as a 3-dose schedule for the prevention of cervical cancer? So the first thing that we are going to do is to break the search down. And we're going to break the search down using the PICO. So this both helps you identify the concepts in the search and begin to come up with what you might be searching for as terms. So our patient population is adolescent females. Our intervention is 2 doses of HPV versus our comparison 3-dose. The outcome is the prevention of cervical cancer. So since we're trying to prevent cervical cancer, the first T is preventative, and our second T is that we are either looking for systematic reviews of randomized control trials or cohort studies, or we're looking for good randomized control trials or good cohort studies. Dr. Jaimez is going to jump in if I get any of this wrong. So from here, what we'd like to do is go into the resources we've just been telling you about and sort of show you what happens as we begin to work on this search. And the caveat that I will give you is that we're doing a search we've done before, so unless they've radically changed things since about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I more or less know how this search is going to go. That is not usually the case, even for librarians who do this stuff professionally. There is no one perfect search. There is no one magic, I'm going to go to this database and put in these terms and I'm going to find everything I need. You may have to do multiple searches. If that is something you don't have time for, if you've been fighting with anything for more than 5 minutes, just transfer your search to the library and we will take care of it for you. You are being paid to save lives. We are being paid to fight with PubMed. Because the link here apparently automatically would have opened this in Internet Explorer, and the library resources tend to hate Internet Explorer and vice versa, we're going to go manually here. This is Chrome. You should be finding Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, and I have not had any reports of any difficulties with Safari. But if you encounter anything, if you at any point encounter technical difficulties with any of the library resources, please let us know. It's often the way we find out is a patron telling us, hey, this doesn't seem to be loading, or I tried to load this and the whole page came up as HTML coding and I don't know what to do with it. Anything like that, please let us know. We can get any articles that you're trying to access for you in the meantime, and that's how we get things fixed. So this is a MyAthens account. And when you sign in to a Carilion MyAthens account, you're going to see this. So over on the side, you'll see an A to Z listing of all of the library's resources that you have access to. That list also exists here with some more information about it. So if you wanted to know never heard of that, what is it? The Resources tab will give you slightly more information. On the Home tab, you'll find a link to PubMed, a link to Hero. We're going to start in Hero because this is a search I haven't done before. I may not know what databases I want to use, so this is a good place to start. One of the important things to know about Hero is that you can't treat this like the search box at the top of Google. You have to separate your concepts out from each other and put them on separate lines. If you type all of your search terms one after another, it searches for that as a phrase, and it gets a little confused. So if you've got something like HPV vaccine, which is a single concept, you can put that in a box, but you wouldn't want to put HPV vaccines, adolescents, girls, preteens, cancers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because it will just sort of go a little haywire. So we're going to use our sample search. We're going to start with our population. And I apologize, I tend to be a terrible typist when I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. We're interested in HPV vaccine, so that's a good one to put in next. And then the question becomes, how are we going to get to the concept of 2 doses versus 3 doses? Because there are going to be multiple ways to talk about that. And we can try putting in 2-dose versus 3-dose, but again, it's tricky to get to that. You're doubling up on the word dose. You're dealing with, is it hyphenated, is it not hyphenated? And the way that we're going to start is to see if we can avoid all of that by simply using the word schedule. And then we're going to search. 214 results. 214 is, honestly, for an opening search, a pretty good number to start with. It's not overwhelming. It's large enough that you feel like, okay, this has probably got good places to start. But the next thing I might do is come over here and say, I'm really not interested in magazines. I'd like just the academic resources. Now I'm down to 157. The oldest one here is from 2004. If you're looking just last 5 years, I know these are recommendations that are beginning to change kind of currently, so I may not be interested in what was being said 13 years ago. You can change the year here. In this case, I'm going to type. You can also pick up the slider and drag it, but I'm really bad at landing on the year I'm aiming for. And now I'm down to 124. I might come down here and say, again, the only language that I read well enough to understand these articles is English. So the fact that there's one in Czech is exciting, but not helpful to me. So I'm going to limit to English, down to 118. I can look at geography, and there's something interesting happens here, which is this comes up and tells me we've got 11 articles about USA and 10 articles about United States, which means we're not having consistent, and this is the thing that you'll find in Hero because you're coming in from multiple databases. It also doesn't really matter with a vaccine schedule what country we're in. So you can look at the results from another country and use that information. So in this case, I'm not going to worry about geography. Just going to ignore that one for now. And I've got 118 results. If you want to see more information on the page, you can go over here and go to details. This will show you the abstracts. So if you like to scroll through and see abstracts as you're looking. Where you see this full text finder icon, full text finder indicates that Carilion has access to that, but in a database that doesn't play well with Hero. So you click that and it opens something that looks like this, and you'll see a link here that takes you to Clinical Key. So to get to this article, this is going to transfer you into the Clinical Key database eventually, and it will come up on the page, and you'll see an icon right below the title showing you the link to the PDF. And there it is. It's like it was waiting for me to finish the sentence. If you see request this item through interlibrary loan, that is one that we do not have access to the full text in a Carilion database. Please don't ever let that stop you from getting an article that you need. You can click this link to open a form that you would fill out to submit your requests, or you can email them directly. You can email a list that you've made in Word, whatever works best for you, and that is to library@carillionclinic.org. If you see PDF full text, that means that it's available and it's in something that Hero gets along with, and there it is. Anybody have any questions about HERO? Oh, okay. Hold on. We are bringing microphones.
Okay, all right, so my big question is why did you pick HERO instead of PubMed to start this search?
Why did I pick HERO instead of PubMed? One, because I wanted to demo HERO to you as it's a Carilion-specific product. But also just if I'm looking for something and I'm looking for information that maybe this is searching Medline, so it's searching much of what's in PubMed, and it's also searching some things that aren't. And sometimes with topics, I find that it's just good to look at both.
I have a question about language. Suppose you wanted to get information from different countries. Is it not translated? Is there a way to look for other articles from Kazakhstan or wherever else? But I don't read it.
The great advantage to scientific literature is that the vast majority of it is in English. So often, even when you see things that are published in journals from other countries, they are English articles that began in English, or sometimes you'll see them published to parallel columns of both languages. In general, if you're searching and you see the English title has a square bracket around it, that indicates that it's a translation of a foreign title or a foreign language. And it will tell you this article's in Chinese or this article's in Portuguese or whichever. But that most articles, I mean, even from foreign countries, most articles these days are in English.
And most times they have the abstracts in English. So you will be able to read the abstract, and if you're really, really interested, you get it translated. One thing I want to show them here is the videos feature.
Oh.
There is some things here in HERO that I think are really, really useful, like when we're trying to find things to teach, for example, we need to find images and videos, and HERO can localize that for you. Remember how we get it?
I think you're in TRIP.
In TRIP?
I think you're thinking of the videos in TRIP.
It's not in HERO?
No, it's a search. Hold on. I'm going to clear this and do a much broader search so we can see what comes up. Okay. So much broader search so that we have more results to look at, and you'll see the first thing that's appeared is a book in the catalog. What are we looking for? So, slight disorientation here, I apologize. We'll get to the videos in just a moment in another database. If you're looking, as you're looking, it'll tell you often what database things are coming from. So this tells you the database is Carilion Clinic because it's the library catalog, Medline with full text is here, and so on. If you are seeing that a lot of your searches are coming up from a particular database, you can transfer the search. It will move whatever you've got over here. So this transferred to Medline and went ahead and did the search on influenza, which was the only term I had in at the time. The things that won't transfer tend to be the limit, so you will have to go in and reapply the year because this is 1844, and I'm guessing recommendations have changed once or twice since then on how to treat influenza. So that's there for you if the resource that you decide, I'm seeing a lot from Clinical Key, I'm just going to go there so I can take advantage of sort of resource-specific features there. So you asked about PubMed. That is where we're going to go next. And again, this is mainly structured to familiarize you with all of your resources. PubMed can also be a great starting place. So I'm going to repeat the search. You've got this box right here where you can go ahead and put in your search and then hit search from here, and it will take the search to PubMed. This is one where you can just type all the words one after another. So same search, adolescents, HPV vaccine, and schedule. Wait patiently, close windows. And there it is. and I've misspelled schedule, but it has corrected that for me. I did warn you that I was going to be a bad typist at the front of a room. Okay. Same results because it went ahead and said you probably didn't mean schedule. Things that are useful to know about this. Over here on the side, it is showing you the search that PubMed has actually done. And PubMed does what they call auto mapping, which means that when you type in certain words, it automatically searches some others. So if you want to see the entire search that you did, it's here. It's showing you what it pulled for each of the terms that you typed in. So you can see what it's done and how it has gone ahead and broadened this for me. And that's one of the nice things is there's less here with having to worry about, did I search for it both as an acronym and spelled out? You've got the ability over here to limit to article type. And right now it's showing clinical trial and review, but there are a lot more available. You can come in and scroll down, and let's say you want to see systematic reviews. So you would click this, and what you're doing at that point is telling it to show on the list on the side. You haven't actually applied it yet. So you would click this to say, just show me the systematic reviews, and now you're at 30. It's giving you a warning at the top that you've got a filter applied, and that's why you're seeing these 30. If you'd like to clear the filter, it'll take you back to 321. So you see that here. You've got publication dates over here, the ability to do things like limit to humans here, and then things like the language filters are over here. So again, if I wanted to say, I really only want to see English, I can click that. It's going to take me down to 21. So I lost 9 of those, which were in other languages. I'm assuming everyone has at least a passing familiarity with PubMed. What you may not know about, and this is one of the links at the end and also available at the back, and it's a favorite of Dr. Jaimez's, is the MyNCBI account, which is your ability to personalize PubMed. So you would come over here, this is where you sign in. If you don't have one, you would use this to create one. It's a little outside the scope of this morning to go too deeply into this, but if you wanted to do things like create your own custom filters, so a set of words that you search over and over again that you want to be able to apply. If you wanted to set up alerts, please email me when there's new information about this particular search that I have constructed. All of that can be done with MyNCBI. And if you'd like more information about that, I am always happy to help you get it set up. And like I said, there's a resource at the back of the room, and it's also a URL in the final slide of this presentation. Questions about PubMed?
So I actually have a question about Hero as well, but are you able to search mesh terms on Hero?
You can put a mesh term into Hero, but because Hero is searching so much more than PubMed, it's not going to work the same way searching a mesh term in PubMed is. So because mesh terms tend to be terms that are used, you know, as names for things or diseases or conditions or et cetera, searching them in Hero will find things, but it won't work the same way as a mesh term search would work in PubMed.
At the very beginning when you started, you went into your MyAthens account.
I did.
But at the beginning of your talk, you said MyAthens was for when you're not on a Carilion computer. You're on a Carilion computer,
Yeah.
So why did you do that?
To show you a MyAthens account. You can use MyAthens from on-site. If you are a person who likes to do the same thing every single time, then MyAthens would be your choice. It will work on or off-site. It's just that the link in inside Carilion will not work off-site. So if you're on inside Carilion and you go to the libraries page and you try to open the databases, it won't authenticate because it uses IP addresses and you're not at a Carilion IP address. Whereas if you use your MyAthens account, that is your authentication. And since it sometimes is news for people in the room, I just like to show this is how to sign into it and this is what it's going to look like once you get in. So it's just, I could just as easily for this presentation have gone through the links in inside Carilion. Any other questions? The last one we wanted to show you this morning is TRIP. And as I said, this is our oddball that doesn't get along with my Athens. So right now I have pro account access because I'm on a Carilion computer. So as long as you are seeing this box, you know that you have access to the paid features. The paid features in TRIP are very functional, very useful, and they're well worth the time it will take to set up the free account. As you can see, it asks a lot of really difficult questions to sign up for an account, and then you would just log in. The other advantage to logging in, and the same is true of my NCBI, is it will save your history. So if you're in the middle of a search and you get called away for some reason, a patient wants something, which I understand they occasionally do, then you would be able to come back and see what articles that you looked at, what searches you've done. It's less trying to remember, wait, what was that? It was really good. Hero is another, or sorry, TRIP is another one where you can just type the terms one after another. And it finds 236 results. Okay, we'll get there. As you can see over by the side, it gives you the ability to refine by evidence type and also to refine by clinical area. Clinical area, I know, is one of the paid features. I can't remember off the top of my head if evidence type is or not. But definitely if you want to go in and say, really only interested in pediatrics, then you can do that. And it takes you down to 55. It tells you here any concerns it has, high or unclear evidence of bias, primary research. So it shows you where things fall on the evidence-based pyramid. It's searching a subset of things that it has identified as reliable evidence-based resources. So it's searching PubMed, it's searching Cochrane. It's a British project, so you'll see a lot from the NHS over in Britain. You'll see some journals. Occasionally you'll find weird blogs that snuck in somehow, but most of what's here is good. And you can come over and say, I'm really only interested in systematic reviews that are pediatric, that address this topic, and I have one. And the good news is it looks like it might actually be addressing what we're looking for. To get to it, you would click this. This has brought you to PubMed. In PubMed, if you see this Carilion Clinic icon over here, that's going to take you to the Carilion resource in which you have access, and that's why it's worth going through those extra steps to make sure that you're signed into My Athens or you've gone through the library. So 4 steps to get to the actual text, but now we're in Clinical Key, and there it is. If you say this is too specific and you want to remove the one you've put on, you take the clinical area out by just deleting it in the search. If you start clicking articles to look at, TRIP will come in and start trying to help you, I hope, at some point. Yeah. So this Smart Search Available goes live. I've clicked 3 articles, and it comes in and says, we noticed that you've looked at these 3 articles. Other people who looked at these 3 articles also looked at these. These are closely related. These are less closely related, but probably still relevant to you. Sometimes it does really well with this. Sometimes people like me who are standing at the front of the room randomly clicking articles to demo things have probably skewed it slightly to the side. But that's there to help you find things. Slightly broader search so that we can talk about images and videos. If you're looking for videos, something to show to a patient, something to use in a presentation, there's a search limiting it to reliable sources for this. So you see the Mayo Clinic comes up, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. A lot of times this will take you to YouTube, and then over on the side will start being like YouTube trying to help by throwing in questionable videos about, hey, here are all the reasons vaccines are horrible. But the video that you're actually linking to here will generally be from something, from a reliable
source.
Sorry,
is the 4th most.
Not going to let him talk. But, and you can see the stuff over here that it's trying to help has offered me actors who refused roles on Game of Thrones, which is clearly very relevant to my search this morning. You can also do a search for images. If you're putting together a poster or a presentation and you need images, there's this lovely thing over here that says show only the images that are free to modify, share, and use. So you can limit your search to that, which can be very helpful. TRIP also gives you the ability to break your search down via PICO. So in this case, we probably didn't need to use that. We could put our terms in here and it will do the same search. I think when we tested this yesterday, we got 236 regardless of whether we put the terms into the PICO or just typed them one after another. But if that's the way that it helps you to frame your search and frame your question, that is available to you, and that is one of TRIP's paid features. So if you wanted to use that, you would need to be logged into your account that you had created through Carilion. Any questions about TRIP? So we're back to our slide, to our PowerPoint now. When you should contact the library. If you need or want help developing a search strategy, please contact us. If the articles that you want are not available full text in Carilion databases, please let us know. And the popular question at this point is, well, how long does it take? If you're asking for a couple of articles or a handful of articles, it's usually an under 1 business day turnaround. If you are in a situation where you need an article in the next 2 hours because you are meeting with a patient and this is for clinical care, let us know. We have ability to borrow those in a rush from the National Library of Medicine. It's not the cheapest thing ever, so we do ask that you don't abuse that. But if you need an article, let us know. We can put in a rush request. If you need the articles, it's Thursday morning and you want 10 articles by the end of Friday so you can read them over the weekend, we can usually accommodate that. The largest number I personally have dealt with in a single request is 174. Jane Burnett, who is the hospital librarian, has probably done hundreds, and people are doing review articles and they need very, very thorough searches. If you ask for 174 articles on Friday morning and you want them by the weekend, that is unlikely. And I don't believe you're going to read them all over the weekend anyway. But we will do our best to get things to you as quickly as possible. If links don't appear to be working, please contact us and let us know. It's the way we find out. If you've been fighting with anything for more than 5 minutes, please contact us. And sometimes it's a question of something like the provider of the database has changed their URL and not bothered to let us know, so it doesn't matter how many times you click that link, it's not going to work. So let us know if it's a question of the article you need is not available. We will get it for you as we work on fixing the problem. Don't ever pay. You come up to those articles that say, do you want to pay $35 to read this article for the next 7 minutes? You don't. You always want to email us. And we are library@carillionclinic.org. That email address will reach whoever is staffing the library here at Memorial, Monday through Friday, generally 7 to 5. So you don't have to worry about, is Jane on vacation? Is Mary Catherine covering for her? Whoever's in the library will be monitoring that email address. And then these are some resources for you. The how-to guide in Hero, you'll find the links to how-to guides on about 75 topics that are written by the librarians on the staff at the Carilion Clinic Libraries to help you with things. Those are inside Carilion and also linked on my Athens. And then the PubMed resources that are at the back of the room if you're here, but I did want to have some way for those of you who are listening to get access to things. So does anyone have any questions for either one of us?
Any questions in the room? I can unmute the phones here real quick before we wrap up. You're tripping on the wire. If you are on the phone and you do not have a question, if you would just put your phone on mute right now so we don't hear your background noise.
The conference is now in talk mode.
Does anyone on the line have a question for either presenter today?
Yeah, what's your phone number?
I don't think that was a question.
Go ahead now. Isn't it funny though, sometimes people have a voice that would actually clear.
Someone's not listening to put their phone on mute, but that's okay. Any questions on the line? Go once, going twice. Any additional questions in the room?
Are you married?
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. All right, with that, hope you find the answer to that question. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the phone lines now. If you have any questions, you can always email us at outreach@CarilionClinic.org. Thank you all very much.
She might have asked him for a phone number.